Hello everyone and welcome back to The Favorite Comics. This is the show where I go over my favorite comics. If you couldn't get that from the title, what a week we are having, because we are venturing back to the 90s and the early 2000s, and we are entering the world, the city even, the one lone city that we explore numerous times and times again, Astro City. Now this is not the first time I've talked about Astro City on this channel, and it will probably not be the last. Astro City is so good. Astro City is one of those perfect time capsules that only exists because the people that made it, the people that wanted to write this book, that wanted to take this to the next level and make it something that's poignant and cool, love comics. And I know that's every comic book writer, but this is such a openly submitted love letter to the comic book industry. It is saying, you're weird, you're different, you're quirky, you're full of your flaws, but I love you so much, and we can have fun with the tropes, fun with the characters, experience some really cool ideas, and just spend time in Astro City, a place that everybody kind of wants to be and nobody wants to be in all at the same time. So Astro City, for those of you who don't know, there are many interpretations of this book. There's like the first initial run that lasted for 6 issues. Then there was the second run that lasted, I think, for like 40 issues. There's a bunch of spin-offs and miniseries. The idea is Astro City is an actual city. It's like your Metropolis. It's like your Gotham, but it's like the biggest city ever, and it's the home to superheroes. That's it. We just followed the day in the life of a superhero or a character in Astro City. That's the entirety of this book. It is so smart, so clever, so interesting, and engaging. This is how you do an homage. This is how you say, I grew up on comic books, I love everything about them, they're quirky and they're funny, and I'm going to tell you a cool story about comics and about the superheroes. This is such a love letter to superheroes. I just love seeing something that is so positive towards the superhero identity and the idea of those characters that isn't really dark or gritty, because this is the 90s. This is in the time where things are getting a little Image Comics and a little darker and weirder and more in its own face and sharp edges and creepy. But this is a book by Kurt Busiek with various artists, and it's just like, okay, here's a story about a Superman analog character who's just going about hiding his identity, having fun. He's trying to find a date with somebody who's either the same as him or different. How do those connect? You know, we're seeing these stories of a kid who's going to become the sidekick to a superhero. We're seeing like the first family, and they go on these bizarre adventures, and they're doing all these different weird stuff. We're following like this vigilante as he goes on like a grand sprawling adventure. We are finding like the story of these Martians as they come down and invade Earth. All of it's happening in Astro City, you know, like all these stories, they take place in Astro City. They're showing you the events of Astro City. It's just like, it's just so cool. It's so nice just to experience comics, man. Just have fun with them, engage with them, do something creative and unique with them. It's such a cool thing to see, such a creative endeavor that I'm glad we are a part of it. Just having those experiences is really fun and really engaging. So the artwork is incredible. You know, Alex Ross did some of it. He does a lot of the covers. All the characters look fantastic and unique. The writing is just such like early 60s. It feels like that storytelling. You know, people like The First Family, which are clearly an homage to the Fantastic Four, and how they go on their own adventures and do fun stuff in that regard. Like, I kind of just want to sit here and talk about some of like the best analogs for like characters we've seen in Marvel and DC and other places, because that's what this is. You know, you're going to read the story of Samaritan and you're going to be like, oh, this is supposed to be Superman and Clark Kent. You know, you're going to see Winged Victory and you're like, this is Wonder Woman. That's the point of these characters. That is what you are seeing. That is why they're here. And it's not like The Boys, where it's like this hate letter where it's like, oh, comic books are shitting and disgusting and we need like destruction and all this chaos. This is just like, you get it, guys. We're gonna go watch as like Samaritan goes to save the world. We're gonna experience like the trials of being a kid in this society, in this city, when people don't like you. I like when it focuses on the superheroes in this book, but I also like when you get like that point of view feel, like where you're just like a random person on the ground who lives in the city, who's experiencing these all the time, and how just like the entire general public has just become immune to the adventures of these characters. Like, they worship them and they love them, but they're just like, this is just another day in Astro City. You know, buildings being destroyed, people doing stuff. It's just another day. And that's such a cool feeling, because that's what it feels really realistic in that way, you know? the thing about comic books that people don't really think about is like, if say like Astro City was real and around every corner was another superhero stopping some crime or doing something weird in that regard, you just get immune to it. You'd be like, yeah, the world's full of crazy stuff, I'm just gonna let it happen and experiences it. But that's about all you're gonna do. Like, you're not gonna overthink it, you're not gonna be frightened, you're just gonna be like, yeah man, here comes like the honor guard. There you go. There's Crackerjack doing his thing. You just become immune to it, which I really like that point of view for the POV character. And when you get like a new character that comes into the city and they're trying to figure things out for themselves, it's like, that's really fun too. It's just such a cool idea, you know, to have these people just come into this world and just experience it. It's so nice, you know. I like liking comics. I like it when comics can tell a mature and interesting story without having to be this like dark, brooding piece, and that's exactly what this is. It's like, just like, yeah, you know, it's exactly why I liked Kingdom Come so much. It's telling you like the ideals of yesteryear, the characters of that time, they still work in today's audiences. You just got to tell the right story, and Astro City is that right story. So like I said, there are so many references and characters based on people in Marvel and DC. Let's take a few minutes here and go through them. Like I said, the first family is the Fantastic Four: Samaritan and Winged Victory, Superman and Wonder Woman. One that I really like is the storyline. It's a couple of issues long in the second run of Astro City. It's the adventures of Confessor and Alter Boy, I believe is what his name was. It's your Batman and Robin story. It's a really fascinating take on that character, because the Confessor is just kind of like this huge, disgustingly creepy myth, and it's kind of like this obsession with him and this way of life that's really interesting to see a very fantastical point of view, and seeing Alter Boy kind of take up that role and become the sidekick character essentially to learn how to do things. It's really cool. They get a great final confrontation, the two of them, and how that story ends up. It's really cool. The Hanged Man character is really fun too. He's just like that entity, you know, like your Doctor Strange, you know, Dr. Fate, just like that creepy, like magical being that's lurking over the dark part of the city. That's so fun. Crackerjack's your Daredevil, you know, the Jester is your Spider-Man. It's really fun. It's so fun. And it looks good. And it's really easy just to like get into this series too, because it's not like this over extenuous arc. You know, the first run of the book, the first 6 issues, which are the first ones I read, each issue focuses on a different character. It's the day in the life of this character, this, that. You're gonna just like easily get enough of the character. You're like, oh, I get the tropes here. Here comes the villain to fight the hero. You know, here's like the thing with the robots or the monsters or the aliens. You're gonna get the tropes, and they're gonna satisfy you in their telling of the story, in the way they portray themselves. You can just have a nice thing like that. Come the second volume, you know, we get longer arcs for stuff, but it's not something that's gonna make you go, this is such a painful read, I don't want to continue this. You're like, oh, it's like 4 issues for each arc. Here's the character, here's the fun they're having, here's the person they're referencing, here's this world you're in. It's all really cute and really engaging, and I want more people to experience Astro City for what it is, you know? Because I think in this era, it kind of gets forgotten, but it's like one of those underrated stories that you could just pick up at any point in your life and just remember like the values it's upholding, the fun stories it's upholding, the characters are so timeless, and you're just going to experience the idea of comic books in such a pure and unadulterated form that is such a love letter to these superheroes itself. I'm saying it's a love letter to the superheroes because that is what this is trying to say. This entire thesis of this Astro City is just, superheroes are cool. If they were real, we'd love them all the same as we always have in the comics. You know, they're just so poignant and fun. And just seeing like the point of view of the world in a place full of superheroes just brings me so much joy. It's such an exciting run and an exciting story that I just really enjoy seeing. There really isn't anything else like it. Kurt Busiek has done a lot of stuff, I think, for Marvel too, where he did like Marvels, where you're like doing like the eye of the camera and you're seeing stuff from like the ground perspective. But that doesn't have the same feel of just like that homage, that love letter. It's like very classic in its portrayal, but this one, Astro City, is just so perfect. It just knows what it's trying to be, it knows what it's trying to say, and it's gonna leave you really happy. It's going to leave you liking comic books in a way you never have before. Because things can be tropes, things can be cliches, these characters themselves are tropes and cliches, but we still love them, we still honor them, we still like seeing their costumes and the characters and the world they are in. They're just really fun and fascinating, and you're gonna like it. You're just gonna sit down and think about the world you are in, and it's just really fun to see that way. So Astro City, definitely worth your time. And one of the things I really like is how it ends every book with like, you are now leaving Astro City, hope to see you soon. It's cute. It's really cute. Now, I wish this was getting adapted. I think they were talking about adapting it for like a television show or movie for some time. I don't really know how that's supposed to turn out, but I could definitely see this being just like a nice little TV show that isn't going to be like The Boys or like Preacher or any of the darker stuff, which I still like that kind of stuff. But this one would just be like, yeah, man, here's Samaritan, here's his day, here's what's going to happen. You get the tropes, you're just having a fun time with these characters in a city that never sleeps. It's just so fun, so cool. It's one I always recommend to people if you want to understand why people like comic books. It's because they're upholding these beautiful values in a prestigious, timeless format that just homages everything you love about it before. Like, you can see the Jester and you can just be like, that is a Spider-Man, that is a Steve Ditko-like character. You can see Crackerjack and feel like that Errol Flynn feel of like a Green Arrow or a Daredevil. You're gonna get those and it's gonna make you smile and feel happy. And it's damn worth your time and damn worth reading. And when I say Astro City and my favorite comic, I mean all of it. Every little homage and every little book that's connected to the name Astro City is what I'm encompassing in this. So, Astro City, the name brand itself, is one of my favorite comics. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, please give us a rating over there. That always helps out. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.